Welcome to Retro Logic. I'm Dan Caparello. We have Chris Logal, we have Philip Paulson, and we have Sam, third strongest mole. And we're going to be talking some Joe and Mac 2, the second one. And actually, fun fact about Joe and Mac 2, it's Joe and Mac 3 Lost in the Tropics and PAL regions. I don't know where their second one is, but that we're neither of us are in those regions, so we don't know. How is everybody doing tonight? You can go ahead and unmute yourselves. There's only 4 of us, so let's just have a grand old time tonight. Hey. Hi.
I remember looking into this, actually. There is a game in between this one and Joe and Mac, like this one and the first Joe and Mac. So the PAL region is actually right.
Is it the arcade game?
I don't.
There was an arcade game
so.
that was like Joe and Mac Returns.
Wait, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that one didn't do very well in the States, so they were like, you know what? All they know is Joe and Mac. We'll just call it 2. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's an arcade game. It's an arcade game, so like they might have not wanted people to look for an SNES game called Joe and Mac 2.
I can see that.
There's already, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's both. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, let's jump right into things, guys. I mean, we're here to talk about Joe and Mac. Presumably, we all played it on the Nintendo Switch because this cartridge is just prohibitively expensive to try to get a hold of. I think it's like $200 or something like that right now, $150 to $200. I don't own a copy. I don't really want one. So that's that. First of all, was this the first time that you guys played Joe and Mac 2, or how did you have previous experience with it somehow?
I had rented it in the past, actually.
Okay.
Both games I'd rented in the past. The first Joe and Mac I remember picking up at a retro store when I was like 14, 15. I mean, it was an old game by then. And I was like, oh, I remember this. And never saw Joe and Mac 2 because it was rare. But I remember renting it back in the day because I kind of had the 2 confused when I picked up the first game. And I was like, I remember there being like a store and like a house that you could upgrade. And I was thinking of Joe and Mac 2 because those things aren't in the first game.
Right.
So I don't think I ever got very far in it or beat it, but I did play it before.
Yeah. Anybody else? Was this your first bout, Philip and Chris? First time with Joe and Mac 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
never came across it.
So did you guys play the first Joe and Mac at all? Because that one was fairly popular. Nada, huh?
No.
Busy not existing.
Yeah.
The first Joe and Mac I actually played originally on PC, believe it or not. We used to have a floppy disk with Joe and Mac on it that I remember playing on the family computer.
The first one was kind of all over the place. Data East trying to put their stuff all over, whatever like system would take their games, they'd port it over. But Joe and Mac 2 came out in 1994, April of 94. So not like super late in the life cycle of the system or anything. Like this is no like Super Mario RPG where it like came out after the N64 came out. It was still, we were in kind of like peak time for the Super Nintendo in 94, which kind of surprises me that this game is so like unknown or unplayed or unpopular or didn't sell very well, because the first one is fairly easy to find, sold very well, boggles the mind to this day. So I wonder what happened exactly.
I kind of think if I'd seen the Japanese version of the game, if I was going to rent like a Blockbuster, and I saw Caveman Ninja, I'm going for that. Joe and Mac doesn't have the same appeal, I don't think.
They had bad branding, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, good. So we're jumping into Joe and Mac 2, Lost in the Tropics for the first time. And I mean, mechanically, it's not dissimilar from the first Joe and Mac very much at all. Same characters, obviously, Joe and Mac. But I feel like the graphical upgrade in this game is kind of where it shines. When I was first playing it, it really gave me, not graphically, but just kind of like aesthetically, but not graphically, gave me vibes of like Donkey Kong Country, which really struck out to me. When you guys press go for the first time when you're playing Joe and Mac 2, whether you've had experience with these games or not, what were your first impressions of the game? What did it remind you of?
I would say actually mechanically, I do find it surprisingly different from the first game in ways that I wouldn't think. So having played the first game, power-ups work differently there. There's essentially 4 different weapons you can equip. It's like a bone, a boomerang, fire, and a wheel.
That's in the first one.
Yeah. And in addition to your club attack, you'll shoot those things, basically. And it's essentially a permanent upgrade that swaps when you pick another one up. And in this game, you don't have that. You have this hidden upgrade that adds like a projectile to your club. And you also have the ability to like spit bones when you eat. And that just sort of comes out of nowhere compared to the first game. The first game also had a super jump. If you held up while jumping, you would spin and jump higher. And that's gone in this game. And those are just like...
Well, this game has a double jump, I want to say.
Yeah, they're kind of minor changes, but it's like, it's odd because you're like, I wonder why they changed that. Because it's like, it's minor enough. And they weren't like things I would consider that needed to be changed. It's just like, why'd they do this?
Yeah, interesting.
What about there being a double jump?
Was there no double jump?
Sorry. I don't remember it. It would have probably made a few sections a bit easier.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. I seem to remember there being one, but maybe that's an upgrade that you get or something like that. First impressions of this game, though, Philip. Tell me what you thought about it when you first popped it in.
Well, it didn't really remind me of anything, which is kind of weird. I don't know, but I liked it. Fair enough. I guess I don't know how far the first impression goes, like first level.
Sure.
I guess. Yeah, I liked the first level fairly enough. And it looks good. I do think it looks very. I like how it looks for the style it goes on. And in the first level, none of the issues I had later on popped up yet, so it was pretty fun. I don't know. I'm better with talking about overall how I feel and then first impressions.
We'll get there. This is just first impressions at this point. So you went in strong. You were feeling good about it. And then Chris, what were your first impressions?
I had a bit of some plot flashbacks, kind of with.
Oh no!
Not with the difficulty level, but in that there's some areas where enemies pop up out of nowhere, and I found myself either trying to just avoid and survive to get to the end of a level, or, I think that was really just some stuff popping out of. So unpredictability was the big thing.
Okay. I can agree with you there. When you first get to the town, I remember being a little confused and like trying to figure out like, all right, where do I go here? You pop into every house and every house kind of has a function. But that game did not strike. Like usually if there's like a hub world in a game, there's also like an overworld map. So yeah, that confused me a little bit. Did you guys come across anything that was frustrating or confusing to you in your playthrough? And Chris, let's actually start with you this time. What did you find frustrating or that you didn't like as you were playing?
So there wasn't a lot very frustrating about my playthrough because majority of my playthrough, Philip and I actually jumped on online. And he sort of dragged me through the entire game. We were playing the Super 2P mode, and so if I was contributing anything, it would be to stun him with my club and then get him killed. But we made it to the end of the game, and Philip eventually beat I forget the boss's name at the end. But yeah, I was really there was a lot of hand holding for me because I was obviously very new to the game, and I spent a lot of time just trying to get out of the way. Gork, there we go. So yeah, we did get to the end. I think on my own I didn't get very far at all, but that wasn't for lack of trying. I just didn't play through it enough until, like I said, Philip and I, it was a Saturday, and we just sort of powered through. I think we were about 3 hours online until we got to the entire game.
Wow.
The thing that struck me was the you'd have to get a password for your where we're at the game, then reset, and in order to bring one of us back, as one of us inevitably would have died, lost all of our lives, then we'd have to go back and start again. So there's a lot of password entering.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Philip? You said that you had some issues with it later on in the game. What did you find frustrating?
It was kind of a list. I mean, I guess I probably should have said in the first impression, there's the minecart section that in the first level that never comes back. That is kind of frustrating.
Oh,
but that's a minor thing. But so first off, actually, I'll jump off where Chris left off with the password thing and explain it in a bit more detail. Because this shocked me the first time I played Super 2P. And this only applies, well, it doesn't only apply to Super 2P. But basically, how it works is you don't ever get to replenish lives ever at all. But the password, like when you get a password, it saves your progress, but using that password will restore all your lives and health.
Okay. They're pretty forgiving with that then.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it also meant that like save stating is actually somewhat less beneficial after levels than just using the system that comes with it.
Right.
Which is kind of annoying because save stating is faster and easier.
Right. It's way more convenient.
But it is very generous, especially since I decided my first playthrough, for some very stupid reason, I was like, I got to play it the most authentic way possible. So I'm not going to let myself use the save state to rewind. So it was beneficial there that it was a very good password system. But I just felt it was kind of weird, like with Super 2P, like not even people come back. Like if someone loses all their lives and you beat the level, they don't come back. They're just still gone.
Yeah. And
like you have to unboot and go back in with the password. And that just felt me as weird because like I understand obviously they're dead for the rest of the level, but it just felt weird to like make it so they don't die. So they die like that.
Well, yeah, and I guess it's not drop in, drop out co-op like a Ninja Turtles game or something. It's you start the game in 2-player mode and then you die. So I kind of understand their ideology behind it. But yeah, I can imagine that being annoying.
But like if you're playing Super Mario 3 and I'm Mario and you're Luigi and you die, I can continue, or I stay where we are and then they'll continue wherever they need to go. Like that's the frustrating part is I couldn't hit continue when we got to the next level and just keep playing. And use however many continues I think you got. It got a little weird having to reboot and then password and then make as far as good, reboot password. Yeah.
Just an extra step.
Definitely. Philip, was there you said there were a couple things that you wanted to chat about that frustrated you. So
then we get to the part with the actual gameplay. And again, this also comes to the fact that there's no life refill. So while there are health refills, those 3 lives have to carry you throughout the whole level, which comes up a few times. And sometimes like that problem that Chris mentioned where enemies sometimes come off without you really being able to see it, that kind of like happens a lot in some places. And it's a really big, I'd say enemy spam is a big issue. And it also feels like the respawn rates on these enemies. Like sometimes I'll be naturally fighting an enemy, walk like a pixel to the left, and then bam, there's another enemy. We got to respawn him. We need him back again.
There's this one part where you kind of like go to the bottom of a waterfall and you're in water and there's these annoying fish that pop up. Oh my God. Yes. And we I was playing 2-player with somebody from the Nintendo dads and we had to like go back and forth for some reason. And like, oh my gosh, those fish, I hated them so much. They kept popping up, respawning. Yeah, horrible. Totally agree with you.
The worst of it for me was in the snow level with the rats that are sometimes when you eat meat to gain health, and it also gives you the projectile isn't quite lined up with the rats, and sometimes they'll just get through and hit you anyway.
Terrible.
Yeah, that was something that surprised me about the like eating, spitting mechanic too, is sometimes it's not good to have the projectile, because even just in general, your projectile attack is slower than your club attack.
It became a handicap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Sam,
although I will say,
sorry. Go ahead, Philip.
Oh, sorry. Well, I will say there are some. It's situational because there are benefits because you can actually hit multiple enemies with the spit attack. It'll go through. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely situational.
The fire one that you get from eating the hot peppers does more damage too.
Oh, that's cool. So Sam, the question is, what did you find frustrating about the game as you came through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the enemy respawns, the sort of blindsiding with enemies and with blind jumps, as people have already mentioned. That seems to be a problem with a lot of the like lesser mascot platformers. I think in the race to like look impressive, they kind of zoomed in to get more pixels for their nice sprites, and as a result sometimes don't show you enough of the area that you need to be going through. Other than that, I'd say just the game seems a little too short, and like Philip mentioned, the minecart doesn't come back. Most of the dinosaurs you can ride don't come back, and it just kind of feels like a waste. Like, oh, they could have like given these some useful abilities for you to, but no, you just kind of ride them through a short section and then maybe they reappear later in the same level and that's it.
He also only had the one hit, so it was really I didn't really like that part.
That was probably the most save stating I did in the game, was just to keep my dino alive. I didn't want to let him die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's also
go ahead.
Although there's easier to keep the dino if you have two people, which is interesting because like we had like one person run ahead and one person use the projectiles that the dinosaur had. So there's some tactical there.
Yeah, it definitely does have the Donkey Kong Country problem. I keep comparing this game to Donkey Kong Country, and it's not that much like it, but there's just little things that I always pick up on, where your sprite is so big that they can only show so much of the screen. And later levels in Donkey Kong Country, you kind of have to memorize them because you just don't know what's around the corner when you need to know. Especially, and when you're playing 2-player, it's even more frustrating because the camera does a good enough job, but it's not perfect, and it does make mistakes for you. And that's kind of our next topic is playing co-op, which in my opinion overall was a really fun experience. We played online with NSO, and you and Chris and Philip, you guys played online 2-player. Sam, did you get an opportunity to do any 2-player?
I did not. I have on the first game, but not on this one.
Okay. So Chris and Philip, tell me about the highs and lows of your experience playing co-op with this game.
So high, you get someone else to play the game with. That's always fun. You get to experience it. And then anytime I get frustrated, with X, Y, or Z, it feels nicer when there's someone else to also share with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot commiserating here when you're getting really frustrated with the certain part of the game. But the part of it that I was really frustrated with was, now if you're playing one player and there's enemies coming at you from both sides, you would be pulling your hair out because you're like, I can't handle all this coming from both ways. But when you're playing 2-player, you're kind of looking behind you like, what would be really useful if something was coming the other way and I could sort of cover back while Philip's pushing us forward. And you're really just standing there. And a couple times, so I would just take a whack with my club and I would hit him by mistake. Now I'm not causing me damage, but I'm also stunning him, making him useless to the enemies, and basically making him a target. And so I was like, oh man, I really got to like stay in my lane here because I really don't want to hold this back at all.
Yeah, there were definitely segments where having two people made it like, oh man, it's infinitely easier. That first segment where you're riding on the back of the Stegosaurus and enemies are kind of coming at you from the sky and the sides, and just having back to back like coverage of that both those sides really made a huge difference. I definitely got the furthest playing co-op because they don't seem to really adjust the difficulty to compensate for a 2-player.
But there is a dark side to the co-op. Again, that smashing thing is that, again, oftentimes the big issue is just that they shouldn't have let you hit each other.
I know.
At all. Because, again, going back to one of Sam's other points, the sprites are like the screen zoomed in and there's not a lot of room. And because they get sprite work. But that means that there's not a lot of room to not hit each other with clubs.
My gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
can you hit each other with projectiles?
No.
Okay.
No.
Why would friendly fire be a thing at all then?
That's one of the things that sets apart super mode, isn't it?
Well, if I actually looked it up, 2P mode, the regular 2P is just like Donkey Kong, where like you switch when one dies.
Oh, interesting.
Although I never tried it, so.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone said about I think Sam said about the size of the sprites. If this is a game like Double Dragon 2, where you have so much more room on the screen to move around, and enemies are coming at you from different areas, and you can both sort of like all handle this, or Ninja Turtles, that's a really good one. That's a great 2-player. There's just not room really for 2 players on the screen at once without you getting in each other's way.
I mean, even games like New Super Mario Bros. Run into that problem quite a bit too. Anytime you can actually get in each other's way, it's going to happen.
Right. But and the New Super Mario Brothers games are much more friendly than this game. So
yeah.
So it's like, okay, you can recover.
Plus,
the other thing about the Super Mario games is if we were having a little bit of fun, if I got in someone's way, someone's going to throw me in a hole, and then we're going to laugh about it, and it won't hold back from getting to the end of the level anyway.
Okay, so side note, I found the actual second game in the series. It's a game for the Super Nintendo called Congo's Caper, and it's not Joe and Mac. It's half monkey boy named Congo, and
okay,
yep,
interesting.
I'm gonna now look up the price on that game because I've never heard of it.
That was a question I wanted to ask Dan was, so when a game like this comes out on NSO, what happens to the value of the carts that are out there?
Doesn't really touch it, honestly.
No.
It kind of depends, right? For instance, when Metroid Prime Trilogy came out on the Wii U, the price of that game plummeted, but that was kind of a special case because there were like new play controls and different things about the trilogy version that were different from just owning it on the GameCube. Like your Wii controls, which were superior in my opinion. And that was kind of like a herald, like it's Metroid, right? So like it's high dollar, high quality, very sought after. Something like Joe and Mac 2 is so obscure that it's I don't think anybody's like very few people are going after Joe and Mac 2 to like play Joe and Mac 2. It's kind of like me and Gotcha Force. Like there's not a lot of people like me who are just like obsessed with the game because they want to play it. It's mostly collectors at this point. And so to me, it's like the ability to play the game isn't, especially with emulators, isn't as important as the collectability of the game.
Right.
So that's why I don't think there's much of a change. And sometimes the price actually goes up because a game will come to light. People will be like, "Oh, what's this?" That happened with Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2. the first one's a great game. And then like YouTube came out and everybody was like, hey, check out Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2. And suddenly that game went crazy high because there was much fewer copies of it. So kind of goes both ways. It kind of depends on the game. But that's not, but that's neither here nor there. It's kind of just a separate little side tangent.
I mean, I wasn't going to go out and buy Eliminator Boat Duel because all of a sudden I tried it on NSO.
Some people would, though. Some people would be like, oh, this is cool, and go try it. But so, and then also I just wanted to check on my price. Okay, so Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics price for the Super Nintendo is sitting at 84 loose. 200 complete. So that's probably where I got the 200 from. But it goes up to 150, 140 on eBay sometimes. So it kind of is it's kind of all over the place. Awesome. Good. Well, this is kind of a good spot to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the game. We'll close it off, and then we'll just have a little general chat about what we've been playing just to close us out. So see you guys in just a second, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. I hope you joined that little Joe and Mac 2 tune. Music in this game is pretty ripping, I gotta say. They did a really great job with the Congo sound effects and making everything seem tropical. They really nailed it, in my opinion.
I really like the Dino riding song.
Yes.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And just to drive it home, I love how when you're riding those dinosaurs that Joe or Mac will just have this huge smile on his face and the dinosaur is hating every minute of it.
Nailed it. Awesome. All right, Philip, you had a logistical question. Go ahead and ask your question.
So as noted earlier in a few episodes of the Actual Retro Rewind podcast, not the Actual Retro Logic podcast, you noted that you thought we were all voting with our wallets because Joe and Mac was the only one that was on NSO. And you're right. But for me at least. But the interesting thing is, despite this being us voting specifically for accessibility and there being like 11 or so, I think more, maybe even more people voting for it, there's significantly less people here to talk about it than for like Sonic, which you might have actually had to buy something for, depending on if you had Genesis collection.
True. Yeah, that's very true. So there's a couple things happening there. One of them is just the law of engagement online, which is that like the average is like about 10% of your actual followers will actually ever engage with you. And then like 3% of your followers will actually be like a diehard fan. Right. So there's 60, almost 70 people in our Discord server. 11 of them voted for Joe and Mac, and there's 4 of you. So those numbers pretty much track. The other thing I'll say is that I'm actually I'm not disappointed because I got to play a game I've never played before and it was fun. But we try to mix things up as far as like console selection goes with Retro Rewind. Because we're not like exclusively a Nintendo show. We do Sega and we do Sony and we do Xbox and we kind of try to cover everything. So I offered you guys games that were on Game Boy that were available on the Switch. Cause there's like a caveat there because it also has to be accessible, right? So like we offered like the Castlevania game on Game Boy and, so a Sega Genesis game. I forget what all the games are, but, there's something else to this too, which is that we don't always offer voting. Sometimes I just tell you what we're playing, which happened with Sonic the Hedgehog. So, there is a lot happening there. And honestly, whoever shows up, y'all were meant to show up and talk about Joe and Mac 2, and everybody else gets to miss out. So,
Dan, I would say to add on to the voting with your wallet idea, though, if it's I guess the obscure nature of like Joe and Mac, having never played it before, said, yeah, let's try something I've never played before and give it a go. I know Castlevania. I think I'd had some experience, at least with the franchises of the other games, and thought, well, sure, I would put down some money to play those, but Joe and Mac's something I've never tried before. If I had known Joe and Mac was a real turd, right? I was like, no, I don't even want to give that a shot. I'll pay the extra $10 because I want to play a good game. But that wasn't the case this time.
That's interesting, because I would think the opposite would be true, where you'd want to play kind of a known entity. But what you're saying makes total sense. Like, I want to play something brand new.
No, that's definitely me. But I mean, you've seen the games I play.
Odama, next time we're doing Odama.
I was playing Spanky's Quest before it was on NSO.
Oh man, you just bought that game too, and now it's, man.
I know, I'm not even mad.
Yeah,
now I can make all you guys play it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it would be like saying I played a Laminator Blow Tool before it was cool. You know, like that's the kind of thing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And this kind of brings something else up, which is interesting, is that there's always the conversation around the Nintendo Switch Online selection of games, where everybody's begging for Earthbound or pretty much Earthbound, and like. Mario RPG is the other one everybody's begging for. And like, I would love those games available to me on my Switch as much as anybody else. On the other hand, it is really cool that there are games coming to this service that I've literally never played before or heard of. And I thought I had a pretty diverse knowledge of like what was available on Nintendo and Super Nintendo. But every time it happens, I'm literally impressed that like, oh, there's one or two games on here that I may have seen before, but seems kind of vague, or I don't know. Or I've just outright never heard of before. So that to me is an aspect of it that I think sometimes people miss because they just want their thing so badly. And this is one of those cases. I don't think that I knew this game existed when I was a kid, and I played the original Joe and Mac, but this game totally just over my head. So to me, it was kind of a cool no-brainer to be like, okay, well, I played the first one. The second one's got to be at least of equal quality. So that's kind of my 2 cents about that.
If I might jump in, I think this actually ties specifically into Retro Rewind itself, because I've always kind of been interested in like all the different games that I've never heard of that came to the online. But I guess maybe part of it's just because it's part of a big package. I can never find the time to play those, and Retro Rewind helps expose me to something that like is interesting enough, but not interesting enough to take time out of my busy schedule of work and stuff.
That's good.
Sorry, Dan.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say there's another podcast, a retro podcast that's playing all the NES games that were released in North America anyway. And so I will give every game, and now there's some games you can't do because like I don't have a power pad anymore, or I don't have a zapper anymore. And I'll try and find it. I'll try and give it, at least if the episode is an hour long, give it that much time. And I can play the game, and I'll say, I don't know how these guys talked about this game for 2 hours because it's terrible, or I want to play this all week until the next episode comes out because I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I guess that's to each their own. Like they enjoyed a couple of games, and they ripped a couple of games that I really had a lot of nostalgia for, and I was like, you guys are crazy. This is one of the best games. I don't know what you were seeing in it, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's really more of a taste thing.
I think too, this is one of the strengths of the Switch Online app bundle service approach versus the old virtual console. I mean, yeah, it's only what, $5 for NES games back in the day, 500 Wii points. But even then, I don't think I was going to blow money taking a chance on Eliminator Boat Duel, because I'd just be like, well, I could buy something else with that. But because I'm already in, because it's a package deal, I've got Eliminator Boat Duel because I paid my, my $20 a year, and I did it just so I could have access to like Link to the Past or whatever. But now I've got these games too, and I might as well try them out.
Yeah,
That's great.
I 100% agree with Sam there. Because if it was a classic eShop sort of thing, or I'm gonna buy Super Mario 3 for the 16th time, and I'm probably never gonna dip my toe into something I've never tried before. But like you said, because it's a subscription and they give you what you get, you're gonna try everything just to either convince yourself you're getting full value, or that you're like the whole debate about on the Dad's Average Drive, what is Game Pass free? Whatever. We won't need to go there.
Love you guys, Dads After Dark. Love them. That's really good.
I guess. So I keep hearing about Eliminator Boat Duel. Someone's going to need, like, I tried to play it with a friend of mine who also played Joe and Mac 2, who also played a Joe and Mac 2 playthrough with me. But we tried, my friend Sammy, we tried to play Eliminator Boat Duel, and we didn't really understand what was happening. So someday you're going to have to explain on the podcast maybe how to play Eliminator
It's like Micro Machines with boats. Which Micro Machines had boats.
More or less. It's a racing game that switches perspectives on you.
Yeah, and we might need to be a future retro rewind anyway.
Maybe. Sam, you'll have to do an explainer video on that one. Maybe in your next stream will be a how-to on Unlimited Boat Duel.
Oh man.
Good. So we're gonna wrap up our Joe and Mac 2 talk, and I really just want to go around the horn and we got any final thoughts about Joe and Mac 2. Was it worth playing? Would you play it again? You can give a review score if that's your thing, or just kind of give your final thoughts on the game. And let's go ahead and start with Sam.
I do think it's worth checking out. Although if you are just a total newcomer to the concept and you just like the idea of a Super Nintendo platformer with cavemen, ninjas, and dinosaurs, I would probably play the first one first. I think I recommend that one over this one.
Okay. Cool. What about you, Philip?
Well, all right. There's a lot about this game that I admire. I like how it looks. I like how each little piece of the level has its own title. And I think it hits it out of the park in out of the charm and presentation. But unfortunately, I just didn't find the gameplay was too frustrating with stuff coming out of nowhere, or the combat specifically. Because ironically, I did find some more of the more precision platforming bits actually more enjoyable. But I guess I just found parts of the game too frustrating, especially the ending where you have to do a boss rush with literally no health pickups in those 3 lives I mentioned. And then you also have to fight a secret final boss form also with no extra lives and no health at all. And it's just, but then when I use save states, it was too easy. So I guess I had too much issue with the difficulty and too much frustration with the combat to really call it a good game or one that I'd want to go back to, it's just kind of, it kind of breaks my heart a bit because so many aspects of the polish and you could tell people really cared when they put this together, but it's just not, I just can't get behind the gameplay enough to seriously recommend it.
Cool. That's a good point. That's really good. You can only polish a turd so much. Go ahead, Chris.
This might be an after effect of the pandemic, but I think any 2-player co-op games are worth trying. This was fun playing 2-player, especially, and even just for the social aspect of it. But definitely jump into this with a friend and it's fun. It's a fun platformer. It's retro. I love it.
Totally. I think the 2-player aspect of it really sells it for me too as well, Chris. It was so fun to jump in 2-player and like discover little nuggets or like figure out like, okay, what power up do I get from this? What do I get from that? Like, what's the next level? What's coming up? And just working it out with another person really enhances the experience. Definitely some frustrating points in this game, but overall, I give it a thumbs up.
Because I haven't mentioned it yet, I just want to point out that I, without knowing what I was doing, accidentally got married in this game.
How do you get? Okay, hold up. How do you get married in this game?
You buy the flowers. If you buy the flowers, you are prompted to select like a mystery door, what's behind the curtain. And one of 3 girls will be behind the curtain. And by RNG, they will either decide that they like the flowers or don't like the flowers. And if they do, bam, you're married. That's it.
You lucked out.
Yeah,
if you buy more flowers, you have kids now.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to.
Don't ask me how that works.
When I do the games, I want to experience fully. So I powered through and I beat the entire game. But I also made sure that I got all the housing developments and married someone and got like the kid. Because if you buy them more flowers after you get the wife, they'll give you a kid.
Right.
I just never mentioned them because it's not really. It has so little impact on the game.
Does it really have any impact on the game? What does the house do? Like?
No, it does nothing. It's just there. Yeah, that's true. And what's interesting, because I played solo, but Mac still gets his own. It's like the stark contrast. Joe comes home to his wife and son who love him and praise him as a hero. And then Mac comes home and it's just like, there is no one home.
Oh my God. That's so sad.
See, and that's when Philip and I played through, we get to the end of the game. And so we hadn't done any of that. So it may not have, getting married may not have an impact on the game, but when you come home and you're the conquering hero and your house is empty, it's like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer.
It's so disappointing.
It's kind of weird because like it feels like the kind of thing like where, oh, you didn't get 100%, you get the bad ending, but all it is playing a mini game with flowers, and that's how you get the good ending.
I love it.
But the conquering hero is supposed to come back to his wife and family. Like, this is supposed to be there. And you're like, nope, you get an empty house. Then you get mustard, man. This is pretty disappointing. Like, man.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so good. All right. Well, if you have a Nintendo Switch and you have Nintendo Switch Online, I think we all... Philip, are you a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this game? Let's give our thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Are you go sideways with this one?
So, am I allowed to go sideways? Because again,
you can go sideways.
I can't. I don't have the heart to give it a thumbs down, but I can't excuse the issues I had with it enough to give it a thumbs up.
All right. We got fair. A thumb sideways.
It's like
from
a half
Phillip.
thumb up.
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up for the charm alone
or something.
You know, like if I was a kid and I spent $50 on this game, I might be frustrated. The fact that it was free and how charming it is, that helps me give it a thumbs up. Well, good, awesome. Let's real quick before we head out. I want to know what you guys are into right now. What are you guys playing? And how do you like it? And let's go ahead and start with Philip this time. What are you into right now, Philip? What are you playing?
Well, I kind of the game I'm playing right now is Baba Is You, which I've been playing for a while. Just because I'm trying to 100% it, and it's a puzzle game. So every so often I'll just get to a level and be like, and for like an entire day or so, and I just won't make any progress at all. And then sometimes I'll breeze through levels in 5 minutes. But overall, it's really fun. But the other thing that I found myself playing way too much of is Tetris. It's on my Game Boy, which we're right here.
On the Game Boy.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a working copy of Tetris with all the, if I could talk about what I bought, which isn't Tetris this week.
Go ahead.
With like the manual and a case. And then the original Game Boy that I also got from you through my aunt came. And I was playing it on my Game Boy Advance earlier. And I'm surprised that it really feels really good in the original Game Boy. So I'm tempted to say even a bit better than in the Game Boy Advance, which is kind of surprising. I don't know.
It's always interesting when you go back and play games in the original format on the original screen that it was actually designed for, because you can kind of see how the game was developed in a way. Like the Game Boy Advance screen might have a smoother refresh rate, but was Tetris designed to be played with that kind of free refresh rate? And like, there's the objective answer, like, well, a faster free refresh rate is always better. But it's kind of like the old CRT question where like, if this game was made to look like it had rounded corners and soft edges, and now you're playing it on a sharp screen and everything's blocky, what's the intended experience? So I think that's really cool that you're able to play that on the original hardware. Awesome. Thank you, Philip. Sam, what have you been into lately? What are you playing?
Well, Monster Hunter did just get an update today, so I'll probably be playing more of that in the days to come. But I have been just deep diving into Super Nintendo stuff ever since I got the analog Super NT. So I bought several games after that came in, and while I was waiting for that to come in, so now I'm trying to play all of them. And one I started just recently is Phantom 2040, which is a crazy ambitious game for the time it came out. Apparently, it has over 20 endings.
Whoa!
I beat Chapter 1 and can't figure out where to go in Chapter 2. But yeah, it's very interesting. I would not expect it to come to NSO anytime soon, though. Because it is licensed off of another intellectual property. Actually, although a presumably dead one, it was a French animated series based on a comic in the 90s. So, yeah, it's
awesome.
Very interesting, though.
That Super NT is sweet. That is a cool machine. Awesome. Okay, so Chris, what have you been playing lately? What's been going on?
So lately, I've been working through A Link to the Past on my SNES. Liam D challenged me in the community crossplay. So it's been a bit tough go lately. I've just got through the Dark World, and so I found that the difficulty kind of really ramped up there quite a bit because the enemies are a lot more gnarly and they're taking me out pretty quick. But I'm still having a lot of fun. I'm a huge Zelda fan of just about anything. So you put Zelda on something and I'm going to play it. Is
this your first time with Link to the Past?
It is, yeah.
Okay. A Link to the Past is also a gap in my Zelda history, which is both embarrassing and intriguing.
Shame.
I know, honestly, just take my gamer card away.
I mean, it's funny because the cart is my wife had it when she was a kid. So there's a save file for my brother-in-law, and my wife has got to be 25 years old.
Whoa!
On there, so there was room for one more for me, so that was cool. But it was just kind of neat to fire it up and see those on there. It doesn't look like they made it very far either of them, but it's pretty cool. The other thing I'm doing in the Nintendo Dad's Discord, we're playing ice hockey for NES. We have a league going, so we've played 5 weeks of the league. I am tied for second place right now with Drew, and a pretty big win against Crazy Great Dre last week. So that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been playing online. I've got my OG Switch with wide internet, so the game's been pretty smooth. It hasn't been too glitchy, but I know that John posted a couple Twitter videos where the player will have the puck and all of a sudden it glitches and then it's in the other player's net and no one knows how it happened. So you're getting some issues there, but I think for the most part everybody's having fun. Tim's struggling a little bit because it's his first time, so he's been he hasn't won yet, but still having fun.
Cool. Good deal, man. That's some good stuff. I'm just trying to get through Pokemon Snap right now. I haven't really been able to play a whole lot. I had a few pickups last week where I grabbed Turrican for the Sega Genesis, which is awesome. Rampart for the NES. Just yesterday, I picked up from this new collector's store thing in my town that just opened up an N64 one of the first party branded drawers. Those are pretty expensive now. They're like $50 for the smaller ones, and I got one for 20 from there. So that's pretty rad. And then cool spot on the Sega Genesis because it's amazing. Such a great game. So I'll probably have to pop that guy in and play it a little bit here and there. Other than that, that's been pretty much it. Been a really busy season for me. But that is just about gonna do it for us here on the Retro Rewind community live discussion. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Chris, for coming on and doing this. And thank you, listener, for listening to the Retro Logic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, you can check me out on Twitter and on Instagram. Those are both at Retro Logic Games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. You can talk to me. You can talk to all these fine gentlemen. The link to that is in my Twitter bio and on the website. And you can find all the Retro Logic stuff. Our new music-based podcast, Retro Groove, just launched today. That's on the website. Our Discord, we have a new merch store with t-shirts and pins and stickers. We have all the things, everything.
We have a channel called Literally Dinosaurs.
There's a channel in our Discord called Literally Dinosaurs, and what's it for? What's it for, Chris? What's it for, Sam?
Literally Dinosaurs.
So yeah, that's what it's for.
I mean, he left out the Plock, all the Plock.
You can also, if you like Plock or you don't know what it is, just come find out. Come bask.
I'm a disciple.
It's a channel. It's a channel that won't go away.
No, I tried to kill it and you guys wouldn't let me. So alive it stays. The URL for that website is retrologic.games. So go there, do all the things, come hang out. And from all of us here at Retrologic, we thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next one. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.